Yeah, so before we start, before we it's tough on the build up to a Vipassana, and the resistance to getting here is pretty large. So well done for making it through the door and making it on site. Whenever we start one of these, I always think about my favorite book, or one of my favorite books, The Count of Monte Cristo. Those of you who know me well know I like to read. And whenever I hear that someone hasn't read The Count of Monte Cristo, I'm excited for them because I know what they've got ahead of them. It's one of those books that you can read and it can just change your life while you're reading it. And I feel exactly the same about Vipassana. That everyone that I've done this with that has been through it deeply, it's completely changed their lives. And so if this is your first Vipassana, congratulations again for making it. It's a transformative experience. It's the greatest gift that I've ever personally been given, and I feel it's the greatest gift I could ever give to anyone else. So I hope that remains true for all of you here. Most of you, from the ones that I can see and know, are familiar with the site, so you know how we run things on site, you know some of the rules. but it's good for you just to get familiar with them in this frame anyway. So first off, within the hall, even during the periods when we can talk on the course, towards the end you'll be able to talk and communicate, or if you even feel just like bugging out and fritzing out and going and taking your silent badge off and talking to other people outside of the hall, within this area with the tent and the hall, let's maintain the silence the whole time, for the whole 10 days. So as soon as somebody comes into this area, we're completely silent and we're ready to practice. Second is obviously no shoes in the hall. Third, no drinks being brought into the hall. Just leave them by the table there or leave them in the dining room on the side. When you need to drink afterwards, you can go outside. Third is that the most important person for you here on this course is going to be tech support Reed, that gentleman that was just telling you about where your seats are. Because even though I'm going to be here doing the teaching for some of the sessions, if you need to speak to anyone about any of the practical details on site, he is the only human that you should be speaking to. If you start speaking to any members of the staff and they just blank you and ghost you and walk away, they're not being rude, they've been told not to speak to any of you. Because they know that your one contact person during this experience should be Reed, and they should be leaving you in silence as much as possible. And a lot of people have resistance to the silence at first, but don't worry, you learn to love it. You get to love it. My brother's a big talker. He was an award-winning sales manager, and you don't get to be that unless you talk a lot. And so when he went and did his first Vipassana course, he was nervous about that. I think he did it about 12 years ago now, his first one. And then when he got back, he was surprised, because he said it wasn't the hard thing at all. That after he'd stopped talking, when it was the 10th day and he could talk again, he said that he missed the silence. And he had no idea how much energy he was wasting every day with talking. And it changed him since then. So the talking is actually easy. The not talking is easy. So when we stop, just do your best to be able to maintain it. Do your best to be able to create a bubble of silence around yourself. Because even though we're all here together, in reality, you're in this alone. And this is going to be your journey to dictate. And so if anyone here is talking to you, they're not doing you a favor. And if you're talking to them, you're not doing them a favor. Leave them their space. Leave them their bubble. Respect it and let them go through what they need to go through. Some of you are really good friends and you spend a lot of time with each other, so you're going to have time to talk about this experience later. You're going to have time to catch up and go deep about it. But while you're here, give those people the space to be able to have their own journey. Some of you are in shared rooms together, so that includes when you go back to the room, especially people who know each other well. Maintain the silence. If you need to pass the soap to someone, pass the soap, but don't say anything to them. Just leave the polite niceties alone and control yourself in that environment and leave people the space to be able to manage their own experience. These badges that you're wearing, as you've been told, they're not just your prisoner numbers. They're to indicate to anyone on site, the meditators and the non-meditators, that you're in silence. So when you come on site, I see a couple of you haven't got them, but when you come on site, check in with the staff, don't just sneak through, and they'll give you one of the silent badges. Because that means that if you do walk out of this area, we are going to have other people using the spa, other people in the restaurant. If they see you wearing the badge, they know you're in silent meditation, and they'll leave you alone, or they should leave you alone. And if they don't, just give them a bow or not and walk on and do your own thing. So the schedule. We're going to meditate from every day, from 12 to 8. There's going to be a few toilet breaks in between, but it's pretty much continuous meditation throughout. The sessions are broken into easily manageable 1.5-hour sessions. So we're going to go through the techniques during those sessions. We're going to learn what we need to do, and then you'll be left to practice on your own and left to dig into the technique. Tonight's important because the first instructions we're going to get. So I'm going to go a little bit longer tonight, past 8, so that we get a chance to be able to sink into what we should be doing. Because those of you that are full-time, you're going to wake up tomorrow, and some of you on site, and you're going to be left alone for 8 hours if you wake up at 4 a.m. 8 hours, 7 hours, 6 hours. And so tomorrow, when you're left alone, you need to know what it is that you should be practicing and how to use the site. So tomorrow morning, all of this will be cleared up, and there'll be people doing yoga in this hall. So if you're one of the silent meditators, you can pick anywhere else on site and go and meditate. But you'll be doing it alone. And you'll be doing it to practice and flex that muscle of being able to maintain your own schedule and your own practice. And then when we come together at 12 again, then I will start teaching again. And at the beginning, I'll give you the most important aspect of the technique for the day so that you can take that and you can start to practice it and start to go deep with the whole thing. And then in the evenings when we finish, we have the meditators buffet being served there for those of you who are here for the food and the buffet. And then in the morning at 8 a.m. we have another one. But if any of you just wants to have one meal a day, feel free to fast through it. You might feel in the beginning like you're not getting enough food and you want to pack on the pounds, but then later it's good to have a light stomach and good to leave it empty because it's easier for you to be able to process and meditate when your stomach's a bit lighter and emptier. And make sure when you go to the dining room as well and you're getting your food, you're also not communicating with people. And that, besides the joke about passing the soap, that should also be non-verbal communication too. So deal with it as if you're alone, place everything back, leave it alone. No eye contact, no non-verbal communication that could also interfere with other people's experience. There might be moments on the course when you go through something difficult. It is highly likely that at some point during this course, one of you is going to burst into tears. You're going to have an emotional breakdown or breakthrough. You might feel like bursting out, giggling out loud. You might go through something very extreme sitting there on your mat, even though you're only facing yourself. It's the same thing with the silence. Leave people the respect to be able to go through what they're going to go through alone. Unless they request help, and they should request help from Reed over there, not from anyone else, then they should be left entirely to practice. And if you're the person who might be breaking down, going through something strange, breaking out into tears, then know that it's a safe space to do that. You're here to face yourself. We're going to face some uncomfortable things. We're going to face some painful things. If they need to come out, let them come out. It's no problem. But in that time when you're doing that, do your best not to approach anyone else. Do your best not to touch anyone else or interfere with their space. Just deal with yourself in your own bubble and take your time to go through what you need to go through. So after the next hour and 15 minutes, we're all going to be completely in silence, even when we walk outside of this space. So now you've got a few minutes when we get up from here to go to be able to get your phones back if you want them, say goodbye to anyone if you haven't said goodbye, and then after that, give them all to tech support Reed over there. And if you haven't handed your phones over yet, that's the time to do them. No phones back in the rooms, be done with the whole thing, and put it down for 10 days. So this will be our last chance to talk openly for the next 10 days. So if anyone wants to have a conversation with anyone else, this is the time to do it as well. Are there any questions about the site and the site rules, not the practice? The practice we're going to get to in an hour. So anything to do with the site rules, what we should or shouldn't be doing that you think hasn't been answered. Jamie?
Do you have to go before you?
No.
Okay.
You can sleep all the way through to 11:55 if you want. And then as long as you make it here before 12, then we're good.
Okay. And is it okay to do yoga?
It's okay to do yoga.
Is it okay to work out?
To work out?
Yeah.
No, don't work out.
No.
Yeah. What I'd say is this. Generally speaking on these courses, I teach 4 yoga poses that people do. And they're super simple poses to do that we do whilst we're in the frame of the practice. Because you've been left more autonomy for the time, and that's what this actual course is about, it's okay to do your yoga practice. But what you might find is that the best result you can get from this technique is doing nothing but the technique. Because it's literally about you putting the coins of your awareness into a piggy bank. Are you putting the coins of your awareness into some other activity, or are you putting it into pure focus? And you're weighing that on a scale. So every second of the day that you can put your awareness into pure focus, it's going to benefit you in the practice. Anyone else? No more questions about the sites or the schedule or the regulations? Thomas? For those of you who are staying on site, there are alarm clocks in your rooms, so you'll have the time, you'll know the time to be able to get here. If you want to sleep through to 11:50 and then just roll out and come here, you'll know when that is. For those of you who are coming on site, obviously you're managing your own time and you know when to get here. Reed will ring the gong before every session and walk around. When it's the end of the session, I'll ring the gong. And then after each session, we're either going to have a 5 or 10 minute toilet break, and then we're back again. So while we're together, it's super easy to figure that out. Good? Okay, wonderful. So besides the part-timers, these are going to be your seats for the course. So remember where your seats are and pick them. Actually, this lady behind you as well had her hand up.
I was told that I could take my phone back to my place because I wake up with the alarm clock of my phone. Is that okay?
Yeah, it's fine. Like if you're a full-time student but you're non-residential, when you're out of here, you're your own boss. You can do whatever you want to do. But the best thing for you to do is to maintain the silence and not use the phone and to be able to keep that frame. That's basically the best way to practice. But if you find yourself getting distracted by the thing and you're feeling the lack of that dopamine you'd usually get from picking it up, that's a good thing for you to resist against and practice with. Ruby?
For tonight's sit, I have to leave before 8. Is that okay? Or should I not sit the last? But that's the only sit today, right?
Yeah, it's no problem. For the old students and the people who've come in part-time, it's no problem. Do it. It's good. But then for the rest of the sits, don't come in if you have to leave a sit halfway through. For tonight, it's okay. All right, good. Any other questions?
In terms of the spa, do you recommend to use it or not?
There's a plus and a minus there with the spa. If we're sitting for 8 hours a day, it's not as long as we'd normally sit. If we're just doing that stretch, we'd normally do 12 to 14 hours a day when we do these courses. So what you'll find is your body's going to accumulate a lot of pain until you get to the point where you're accessing bliss states and you can work through it. So the spa is going to help you daily to replenish yourself to be able to deal with that. And it makes it a lot easier. But what you also notice is you having the fluctuation and the overstimulation of the heat and the cold is going to take you out of your pure awareness. Because as you're developing and refining your awareness, it becomes very sharp. And so when you overwhelm yourself with the sensation of the heat and the cold, it can blunt it a little bit. And also water washes the energy down to here. So you might want to be aware of that. That's why I usually use a little bit of time after you finish meditating for showering or anything like that. But if you're waking up in the morning, you need something to kickstart yourself. The spa's there open and you're all free to use it during this course as well. And it helps you to crack the walnut open a little bit if you need something to be able to get into the day in the practice. But if you're getting to the point where your awareness is becoming more refined and you can penetrate yourself more deeply, you're going to find the spa is a distraction. And you'll want to stop doing it because you'll be wasting the little time you've got in this course to be able to go deeper. Good? Any more questions? Or are you good to have your last hour of freedom? All right. So, a couple of last things. Not just the water. Let's please not bring any bags into the hall as well. Any bags, leave them underneath the table with the cushions by the side over there. So you can see as you walk in, they'll be there. That's the female side, that's the male side. Gentlemen, you have a toilet at the end of that corridor there on the right-hand side. Women, exactly the same thing, over on that side on the left. And then ladies, you have another toilet down there just past the pool. Gents, you have one down there just by the spa, and you can walk around to where the cryo center is as well. Those are your toilets you're going to need to rush to when we've got the breaks. The people who have rooms, obviously you can go back to your rooms as well, and then you've got that as well to use. And I'd say, please do go back to your rooms because then you leave the space in the toilets for the other people. And then besides that, just enjoy your last hour of freedom. Talk everything out that you need to talk out. Get it out of you. And then when we come back to this hall at 6:30, come back ready for the silence and ready to focus. If you're one of the few people who doesn't have the silence badge, then speak to Reed afterwards. He'll get you one of those. All right, ladies and gents, going once, going twice, going 3 times. No more questions. Thank you all for making it. We'll be back here and ready to practice at 6:30. And if you'd like to enter silence now, don't take your badge off. And so if someone continues to wear their badge outside of this frame, don't talk to them. Okay? Thank you.